Welcome to the Dateable AF podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah Kyle, a therapist in private practice.
And I'm Rachel Howell, a qualitative researcher.
Each week, we break down the emotional patterns behind dating, love, conflict, and connection, and what actually helps people build relationships that last. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 6 of the Dateable AF podcast. Today, we are talking about why your relationship changed when you did, when growth creates distance between partners.
There's this heartbreak people don't talk about. Like they say, nothing went wrong, but everything feels different. Or you just grow. We just grew apart. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody's good in the beginning. Shit.
Everybody's good in the beginning. And I think that idea of growing apart happens when one person is growing and the other person's not, or when people are growing in different directions. So I think sometimes relationships don't break because of some kind of betrayal, but they break because of evolution. And that can be really sad sometimes.
Also, I'm always amazed, really, at couples that got together, let's say in high school and that they made it, because just think about the growth you go through from the time that you were thinking back when you were 18, 19, 20, 30 even for us, and the amount of growth. And that you could actually really navigate that with somebody and end up together.
I'm the couples you need to talk to, because those couples have weathered it. If somebody's been together since they were 18 years old, they know how to hold on through some hard times. Because
if they're happy. Now, I do know some that are like,
that's true. I'm thinking of a few, though. I actually have a few couple clients who have been together since they were very young. And it's really impressive to watch that they went through really hard times and then they held on and came back together. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for that.
I also do know some people in a similar vein that can talk clearly about the tough times. Let's say you move into having kids, nothing feels the same. And then they waited it out, they made it, and then they hit a completely different place with one another after that. It's like a new surge, especially when those kids go and leave the nest, get out there, fly free, babies, fly free. So
Mama needs an empty nest.
Mamas can mix it up again, not have to hide everything in the house.
That is true. Well, why do you think sometimes growth can feel like a threat in a relationship? And why does that destabilize relationships?
Well, I think people wrestle with change. And so one person changes and the other person is not comfortable with the change.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not something that they wanted to change, or something they're not making changes. There's a million things that can go on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this theory in therapy that when that family systems are sort of like a mobile that hangs over a baby's bed, and that when one part of the mobile moves, it inevitably means the other parts of the mobile are going to move. And that can create some discomfort, because like you said, maybe I was comfortable hanging still just like we were, but then you moved, you changed, and it caused the whole system to get upset. And I think that can feel kind of threatening sometimes.
Well, also just if the person changes, if they do things like they're communicating in a different way, or they're setting different boundaries that they haven't set before, they have a different expectation of the way they want you to treat them. Just things like that it connects to the episode, the one before this, guys, just that, not when you're not actually being real about who you are, then it's going to be destabilizing. And when you decide, okay, this has to just come out of me, I have to start, speaking out and asking for something different. And then there's just the idea that you are who you are, and you're just beginning to decide that you want to change something about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's think of something that we've probably all seen. One partner in a relationship starts working out and eating healthy.
Poor Joe, y'all. She's starving over there right now. She's having she's having to eat like all these fruits and vegetables. Sarah's dragging her through the mud again. That girl has been the beneficiary of many a change in her dietary habits.
Many a cleanse.
She was so glad to get
better for it.
Food. I asked her the other day, I said, "Hey, how you doing over there?"
It hasn't been bad. All I've been doing is adding something in. I've been adding in more fruits and vegetables into our diet. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Well, for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of, let's say, going through some of Sarah's gregarious changes, she loves good company to join her in her changes.
Yes.
And so poor Kitty's probably eating the same fruits and vegetables back there too.
Exactly. I make everyone around me get on board with me. If anyone wants to come to CrossFit, if anyone wants to get sober, if anyone wants to eat more fruits and vegetables, come on board.
Everyone's welcome. Some are forced.
Exactly. It might be some forced labor in there somewhere. Oh Lord. Well, why are we talking about me? I was talking about something else.
That was some low-hanging fruit right there, baby.
Ooh. Well, what I was actually referring to is if you have two partners that are kind of couch potatoes and then one person decides to change and they're all of a sudden getting really hot and fit and eating right and going to the gym, that can feel really threatening to the other partner. And because that person's now starting to see themselves differently. And so sometimes those kinds of growth patterns can really be disruptive in a relationship.
Yes. And I have experienced it. I have definitely experienced, as you know, I have been very active physically most of my life. It's just kind of a part of who I am. I never expect my person to do that with me. As a matter of fact, most of the time I don't want them to. But it is difficult. I have been met with either oftentimes them trying to figure out how to get in it with me, so wanting to do it with me, or just really pushing on me about their discomfort it comes out in ways of, oh, I don't know who all those people are that you're running with. They're your friends, not mine. When really it's about the fact that I'm doing something that just,
Yeah. I mean, and that kind of social growth too, like you're making all these new friends and that feels threatening to me. I think any kind of changes like that, if your relationship's not really solid, it can leave your partner feeling insecure.
well, and it's definitely if in that respect, somebody's eating better, they've decided to take on healthier habits, there's no doubt that they're going to be less inclined to spend more time on the couch. They're going to be more vivacious. Their attitudes, they're probably going to draw more people to them. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's just the nature of when you really like yourself and what you're doing. So that can be scary for the person that's not doing it.
Yeah. And going back to your point about setting boundaries can be one way that growth feels like a threat. I was talking to a client recently who was sharing that her partner has certain expectations of her, that, the house will be kept a certain way, or that the kids' toys will be put away, and that sometimes she doesn't want to do that, but she does it anyway because she doesn't want to upset the apple cart. Well, as she is setting more boundaries for herself and saying, it's actually okay with me if the kids leave out a few toys, that's upsetting. It's upsetting the balance of the relationship because her partner's used to dictating that and she's changing the rules. And as she's growing and feeling more comfortable in herself, that is changing the dynamic between her and her partner. And I think often growth changes the rules of the relationship, even if the partner didn't agree to that.
It does. And you've given this example before for sure, but one person decides to you've been drinking partners and then somebody gets sober.
Yeah.
I think it takes work to make sure both people can move through that together.
Yes.
From both sides of it. This is probably a good place. I was reading this abstract, this research study, and they were following these sets of couples, and it was about sort of the outcomes of happiness within the couples when couples were making changes together. So like they decided maybe to go, do a thing together, take on a hobby or whatever. And then couples who did one changed, was making changes, but not a lot. So just subtle. And then they looked at some couples where one of the individuals made a lot of personal changes, but not couple changes.
Yeah. Just individually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the happiness correlation that came out of that was, and I find this fascinating because I have had this happen in my life, but that the middle ground was the happiest of couples. So if you have one couple who's really focused on and really doing a lot of their own internal work, and they start changing, they go take on hobbies and they do a bunch of stuff, none of which is inclusive of their person, even though they reported greater self-satisfaction, as a couple, they did not.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that leads me to believe, if I'm just going to sort of take some, do a little deductive reasoning from that, then you might assume, based on that data, that it's something in the middle.
Mm-hmm. That
is, you don't squelch personal growth, because I think people should be able to flourish. And if they are interested, they're going to have to grow if they want to. Mm-hmm. But that you also at the same time try to make sure you're going back in to see where you can grow with your partner.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you don't want to leave them behind. And so, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that if one person's growing and the other one's not, I think the non-growing partner, we'll just label them that for lack of a better term, the one who's not experiencing this big personal growth starts getting scared that they're going to be left. Like, oh, you're going out, you're making new friends, or you're getting healthier, or you're starting to run, and I'm still here on the couch. I'm afraid that you're going to leave me. I think they can also feel kind of inferior. Like, I'm watching you shine and flourish, and here I am, just the same old me. And, I feel less than.
Yeah. Also, there could be a distinction. Maybe it's important also to think about a distinction related to growing versus just not doing anything together anymore.
Right. Yeah. Like losing that old dynamic that we used to have. I think that's a big fear.
Yeah. And so I have a past relationship, we'll just call her Monique. That was actually one of the most significant relationships I've ever had related to me when I was kind of personally growing up. And that person allowed me the most open-ended personal growth freedom of any situation I've ever been in. It was magnificent. At the same time, I also was allowing her all of that. And we did not tend to us coming together to make sure that we were also making time. We were so busy out there doing all these other things, and that we weren't tending to one another as a couple, but we were congratulating one another as these individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And so
it came back to bite us in the ass.
That goes back to what you were saying, though, about finding that middle ground, that you're not, You're not stagnating as a couple, and you're not just growing as individuals. You have to grow as individuals and tend to the couple relationship too.
And
Yeah.
friendships. Isn't it interesting how this happens in friendships?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I mean, as we might quote, sometimes friendships just grow apart.
And sometimes they do, but I think friendships also take the same work and notice of, we know how some people are petty as like, we're close friends, but then they get worried if you make other friends because then are they going to take my place? And lesbians are terrible. I think a lot of people are terrible about it, but I think women can be terrible about that. And yeah, it's like, well, I mean, we have an endless capacity for good people.
Yes, for love and friendship, of course. And just because I make a new friend doesn't mean I'm letting go of my old friend. Yeah, absolutely. I was just kidding about this. Sometimes friendships grow apart. I mean, they do.
Well,
but
I got you.
there's usually a reason in there somewhere.
There usually is.
But so I think one of the things that I hear people say sometimes too is like, I don't even recognize this person anymore. You alluded to this about the one partner drinking and one person stopping drinking. I see this happen in couples a lot where, we built our relationship around drinking and partying and having a great time. And then all of a sudden one person puts the brakes on and the other person's like, wait, where's my fun buddy? Where's my party buddy? And I don't even really recognize this person anymore. And I think that can be really threatening and scary.
It can be. And I also think that there is no doubt that I can see where, yes, I think if somebody's making a hard decision, let's say a life decision to not drink, that there may be a period of time for them to make some adjustments to that. And that socially things may be awkward for them. And there may be a ramp up to them getting comfortable without that social lubricant that they're used to. And that those are the things that you have to sort of be able to work through with your person. And probably quite a bit of grace in there. Like, let them get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I absolutely grace on both sides of that. And the main thing that I want to stress here is that when someone's growing and someone's not, this isn't about one of the partners being bad. This is about how people's nervous systems react to change and how sometimes that change brings up fear and how you can be gentle with each other and still support the growth and still stay connected as a couple.
Yeah. Or as friends or also with family. Because that happens as well. And just as family, I think family dynamics get very entrenched. And when one person decides that they want to break those dynamics because there's something about them that something about it no longer feels healthy to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get ostracized by the family. It's like, no one wants that. No one wants the shakeup.
Yep. Yeah. And like often I'll hear things in families, something to the tune of, well, that person got too big for their britches. If somebody is growing, somebody got an advanced degree, or somebody moved to a different city, or somebody got a really big job, the family's assuming, oh, well, now they don't care about us anymore because they got too big for their britches or something like that. It's like, well, okay, not necessarily.
Yeah, they're woke.
Well, yeah, they're woke now. I want to go back to the relationship you were describing where you and your partner were both supportive of each other's individual growth, but not necessarily tuned into the relationship. And that might be an example of how we let distance sort of quietly form. So let's talk about what kind of creates that slow drift.
I do think that if let's say that your person is taking on a new hobby, or they've got a fresh career and they've just made a career move and it's really taking a lot of their time and energy when it hadn't taken as much, whatever these things are, that are not necessarily about what y'all are doing together, but what you're doing separately. that if you don't carve out time to come together to be sure that you're really just focused on you, then you begin to look up and I mean, you're having fun. So that's the thing that I will say is like, I think with this person, we were both in a great time in our lives individually.
Mm-hmm.
So there, you feel really great. And
Yeah.
it was exciting. And you don't, like, we didn't even notice
Yeah.
until we
Yeah.
started, till we had gotten into a hot spot of like all of a sudden, I'll say for me, I wanted them at some point to say, no, please stay home.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that seems to be a result of less emotional attunement. Like you were each happy, you were each pursuing your own thing, but you weren't necessarily emotionally attuned to the relationship or to what was going on between the two of you.
Yeah. I do believe that it's good to look in and say, I miss you and I would like to have a little bit of your time. And because I miss you and I love spending time with you is very different than you saying, I'm tired of you hanging out with those people all the time. I don't ever get to see you. That's not because it's actually not even what you want. I don't think what you want is just a little bit of time with them.
Yeah. And this goes back to something we've talked about numerous times on the podcast, which is a complaint is much less likely to get your needs met than asking for what you need. So proactively asking for what you want instead of complaining about the other person's behavior it's a much more effective strategy. Couples can also get kind of irritated with one another when they start to feel distant. It's a self-protective mechanism because if I'm irritated with you, then I can't be as hurt by you. It shifts me away from you. And so I think people do this as a protective response. I think also one person growing and the other person not growing creates sort of a subtle power shift. The person who's growing is in more of a power position. So I think those are ways that you have to watch out for distance forming in the relationship.
I will say that if someone does not, what's the right word? If someone does not bask in your growth or really appreciate your growth or they're not curious about it and interested in it in a positive way, you might want to pay attention to that.
Yes.
Because all these scary things can happen in growth. But also there's the really great part is not being stagnant and having a person with you that has new things that they're excited about.
Yes, for sure. I mean, happy spouse, happy house, right? Like if your spouse is doing great, that actually is a boost to your overall household or family unit. We talked earlier about couples who have kind of weathered the storm for many years. Why do you think that some couples grow together and some don't make it?
Well, for sure, curiosity instead of defensiveness. We
Yeah,
just
that is
spent a little time
huge
talking about that.
Yeah, that one is huge. Like, yeah, don't get defensive or critical of your partner's growth. Be curious about them and what's going on with them. I think that's a huge one.
Now, look at I see. I don't want somebody that just wants to do everything I want to do. It's going to kill me. I love the idea of doubling my interest, my possibilities of things to do. I mean, that's part of why Sarah and Joe and I and a couple of my other friends have been doing this for a little while where we give each other outings and experiences instead of gifts for special occasions. And
Yes.
one of the best things that continues to come from this is that often I'm gifting somebody for their birthday, I'm giving them something that I know they would like. It's not my desire, it's theirs, but I'm going along. And next thing you know, I'm glass blowing an ugly little beautiful bowl that mine was the ugliest.
It was pretty.
It's ugly, but I loved it. And it was Joe's birthday gift and watching her be like a little kid, delighted in all that was the experience of that was so fun for me. It was just great to see. I loved it.
I love it. So you're facilitating someone else's growth, but you're getting to enjoy it too. I think that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So I do think that curiosity about someone's growth is really helpful. I also think that people having a mutual investment in the emotional work. So don't just let one person do all the emotional labor here. Both of you get to be invested. Even if one person is growing or having new activities, you both get to be invested in what's happening there. And I think having both people participate equally or equitably in that is really important.
I was telling Sarah and Joe, I had this 43-year-old reach out to me through Facebook. I don't know if she's a listener, if she is Monique or Veronica. Anyway, to those of you that don't know or haven't remembered, I'm 66. And so I'm like, oh my God, girl, no, 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 no. You could be my daughter. Her response to me was, well, you don't know me that well. And she was sort of saying, I'm an old soul. You're probably more active than I am. And I thought, well, I really don't want to do it now. Why the hell? The only reason I'd want a 43-year-old is that they would take me around and be active. Last thing I want is a 43-year-old that's less active than I am. Now I'm pretty
Right
active.
up on the couch.
But
That'll draw you in every time. That'll draw you in every time. Yeah, and that's actually a good example of I think why some couples go the distance and some don't is that those shared values. Like one of your values is being active, and you're not going to go the distance with someone who doesn't share that same value with you. And going back to, what drew you to someone in the first place, and where is that deeper connection in what you actually value?
that's why it's also very good to talk about the things that are important. I do believe that there are some assumptions made because I'm active that my person needs to be equally as active, and that's not my. It's actually not my thing. I mean, I don't want you to sit on the couch and watch soap operas and be no. I just don't expect. I want some other things from you. So
Yeah.
the assumption that I would want that is kind of a big assumption to make.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I can tell you some things that don't work as far as couples growing together. One of those is clinging to this idea of who someone used to be. And that this whole, like, you're a completely different person now. Well, people are going to evolve and change. And so if you still cling to this idea of the person that you met 30 years ago, it's not going to work out because all of us are evolving and changing. So letting your idea of this person evolve and change is really important.
That's called boredom. Woohoo.
Yep. Yep. Resisting change also doesn't work. If you see someone changing, you want to support their growth and don't take their growth personally. They're not growing at you.
Yeah.
They're growing because it's important to them. And so don't take it like, oh, your gym friends are more important than I am. It's like, no, your gym friends are important and I'm also important. So try not to take it personally if you see someone grow.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time they're not trying to grow away from you. They're just trying to grow. I mean, if they're trying to grow away from you, well, then y'all probably have a different discussion that needs to be right.
Yeah. So if you are growing and your partner's not, what do you do if you see that happening to you?
Well, you definitely, what do? You need to have honest conversations. You don't want to stop growing.
No, absolutely not.
You definitely want to have clear boundaries, and don't be tempted to go back to who you were.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because your partner or your friends or your family get uncomfortable, you don't go back. If you're enjoying your growth, you keep moving forward. And you don't want to dim your light just to keep the peace. If you are shining, shine, friend. Don't dim your light just to make someone else feel comfortable.
I think it's okay to acknowledge some things that you missed about what you were.
Oh,
You,
sure.
we often talk about some things that we were when we were 30 that we still wish.
Yes.
We take a little walk down memory lane and get sad
Oh,
about that every now and then.
all the time. All the time.
But you have a moment of grief, and then but then you have the courage about what is, and there are many, many beautiful things that we have now that a lot of trouble that we don't get into.
That's right. And for that, we are grateful.
Yes, we are grateful. So is our nervous systems are very grateful.
Ooh, no kidding. I do want to say though, you're not wrong for outgrowing something. If it's no longer a fit for you, it's okay. That doesn't mean that you were wrong for participating in that growth.
And I'm sure that there are some I don't think that it necessarily means that anybody's doing anything wrong if the growth ends up taking you apart. And that's just something you have to work through, is that you really may have some fundamental differences as you grow where you just no longer see the path together. And that happens. And it doesn't mean that either person is doing something wrong. They really are just growing in different directions that prove, big growth.
Yeah. And something that I see as a therapist that might be reassuring is that relationships go through phases where you're close, and then relationships where you're kind of growing in different directions. And then most often you will come back around and grow back together again. I mean, barring some, terrible thing or some really fundamental difference. And so a lot of times, if you just weather the storm and say, yeah, I'm growing right now, my partner's not, hold on a minute, because they might catch up with you. You might slow your growth down and they might speed theirs up. And next thing you know, you're back on the same path again. So don't have a knee-jerk reaction and, bail when it's just a temporary situation.
We didn't touch on this, and I know it's sort of dicey, but I can see some things like, let's say, religion. That would be somebody deciding that maybe wasn't an important part of their life, but then it becomes a very important part of their life, and that it's important for their person to go along that path with them.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how you would resolve something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you would have to do is assess, can I have this as something that's really important to me? And maybe it's not important to my partner, or do I need to have a partner who's on that path with me? But yeah, that's an important one. What do we want folks to take away from this episode?
Well, for sure, growth changes relationships, and not necessarily in a bad way, oftentimes in a very good way.
Yep. And like we said, not all love survives that evolution, but a lot of times it does. A lot of times, if you just hang in there, your relationship will survive those changes and you'll come out stronger than ever.
And distance isn't always anyone's fault.
Yes. Yep. Sometimes that is just a natural process of that evolution. And maybe it's temporary, or maybe you're going to have to leave, but don't make an assumption one way or the other, because becoming yourself is not betrayal to your partner. Those are two different things.
Becoming yourself is, well, you owe it to yourself.
Yes. Yep. It allows you to really fully live and be seen. So, okay, listeners, if you want to talk about this further with someone in your world, the question that we would like you to ask yourself, and maybe ask your person or your friends, are, where in your life are you pretending that nothing has changed when you can see that it actually has? Whether that's your own growth, your partner's growth, is there a place that you might be pretending that nothing's changed? We would love to hear from you about your growth, about your partner's growth, about your friend's growth. Please reach out. Please DM us. We would love to hear from you. We are on Instagram at Dateable AF. Or you can email us, info@dateableaf.com. We really love hearing from our listeners, so please reach out. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Dateable AF podcast, where we help you find your happy ending.
And remember, be bold, be kind, and for the love of self-respect, don't text your ex. Stay dateable.
AF.